We have dogs in the room. We have dogs waiting here because they know it's fucking gonna be cold outside and we're gonna feed you, right? You're a good girl, right, Boots? Boots is doing good. She's a little bit out of it, but she's doing good. The other one's doing good. We're okay. You know, that's why I did this. No, let me do the episode, okay? Another episode of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, little road story. Another caper, actually. If anybody lives in, I don't know if even there anymore, because I was in Lyndhurst, Rutherford, Carlstadt, Hasbrook Heights, North Arlington. There's tons of warehouses there that, basically fulfill businesses with product. And also with these warehouses there's a lot of waste. Like a friend of mine worked for a book dealer, and he's told me when they change the serial number or item number on a book, all the old books with that number get thrown into a dumpster, and his job was to soak them down with a hose. Of course, he and I worked a deal where I would get there and pull a bunch of shit out, and then he'd soak it down with the hose, I'd sell it, we'd split it later. So there was all kinds of companies down there. And Philip Morris was down there, Marlboro, Philip Morris Tobacco, whatever. And this guy, Mark, worked across the street from where I worked in a liquor store. He was a delivery boy, but he worked for Phyllis Morris during the day. So he would occasionally come up to me with stuff. Can you sell this? And not a handful of stuff, Mark. A handful of Marlboro lighters I can't sell. A case I can sell. You remember they were doing those things in bars where they had Marlboro night, where they were giving out free T-shirts and things like that? Well, he shows up with a case of gray T-shirts with the red Marlboro sign on, because they had changed it to red T-shirts with a white Marlboro written across it. So okay, now you got something I can deal with. So I was selling them. Then he came up with this thing. Now, you remember a cigarette called Virginia Slims? Because this is all cigarette promo stuff, which you can't do anymore. Remember Joe Camel and all that shit? They said all cigarettes were marketed to kids and things, which they probably were. So anyway, Virginia Slims was sponsoring a tennis tournament. And for the promo, they had come up with an outfit that was knee-high socks, red velour hot pants, and a red velour striped top. Nice little outfit. Probably, would run a couple bucks in the stores. Well, anyway, he shows up with this and he goes, can you sell this? And I said, well, what's the deal? And he goes, the promotion's over, they're going to scrap it, they're going to throw it to a rag factory. I said, well, how many are we talking? He goes, I think 800. So I said, give me a sample. So I go down and find, the guy I've spoken about him, Big Dave, and, tell him I can get this, need $8, there's 800 of them, okay. He's in. So I call Mark up and I said, okay, he's in, how are we going to get this stuff out? He goes, I got a guy, don't worry about it. So we're supposed to do this deal at the end of the week. In the middle of the week, I get a call from Dave saying he can't do the deal because somebody offered him the same deal at $5 an item. And I'm sitting there going, how the fuck are they? And I'm like, okay, something just went sour. So I call up Mark and I said, where do you have this shit stashed? Because somebody's selling it out from under us. So he tells me where, I pick him up, I go to this place, and this guy right off the bat starts getting stupid with me, and I'm not in the mood for stupidity. So he's basically saying, something. I said, well, you just ripped me off, and you just cost me a lot of money, and now we're taking our shit. So he goes, I got to get paid for storing this shit here. So I point to the one case that was open, and I said, I think you just got paid. So then he started saying something, and I grabbed him by the fucking throat, threw him against the wall, because I do shit like that back then. I didn't fuck around. And I'm just basically reading this motherfucker the riot act. And he said something about hot shit or whatever. And I said, okay, you think it's hot? Call the cops. Let's straighten this out right now. I said, here, call the cops. Go into your office and call the cops. Let them check this out. He ain't gonna do it because I found out later on he was into a lot of shit. So basically what happened was I had to meet the $5 price. 5 times 800, 5 times 8 is $4,000, something like that. We had a split where it could have been a lot more. But again, this is how shit started, and there was a lot of double crosses going back and forth back then in the day. I kept doing this with this guy, we were getting T-shirts and things like that, and I was making good money, but what I didn't know was that he was basically had a bunch of fucking scams going. And one day he shows up, and we had this running gag that I'm Inspector Dick Long going, you're busted. So he knocks on my fucking door. I open the door, and he goes, I just got busted. And I started laughing my ass off. He goes, no, fuck you, I got busted. And I'm like, how did you get busted? Well, then all the shit came out that he was involved in other shit, and the dumb asshole went out and bought a fucking car cash, and it all came back to haunt him. So my big question was, okay, am I on the radar with this shit? He goes, not really, they just think you do flea markets. I'm thinking, who is they, and I don't want to know. So basically, I went back, and anything that was even connected with any of that deal, I got rid of it. Threw it all away. Didn't need any fucking headaches, and I don't know what happened to him. I know that it was a lot of fucking problems, and it was not only him, they were all running scams down there, but see, this is the way it was. And what people don't realize is how much shit gets thrown away here. You remember those Kiss albums, the ones that had, there was single albums, but each one had a different member of Kiss on them? There's 2 tractor trailers full of those buried in the dumps at the Meadowlands. Now, if you drive down the New Jersey Turnpike, say from the Meadowlands exit going down south to like, through Kearney and shit like that, you'll see on the road this huge mountain. And that huge mountain is nothing but fucking garbage. That's where the dump is. And they kept building this up, building this up, building this up. And there's tons of shit in there, and a lot of the shit that was dumped there's absolutely positively nothing wrong with it. It's a write-off. But rather than give it to charity or do something cool with it, no, they tossed it, and then sometimes I got it. So that's how the whole thing revolved back then, and there was a lot of stories like that. And, when I made, I did some decent money with basically stuff that people were going to throw out. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Dogs are getting antsy in the background, so I got to go let them out. So we will catch you on the flip side. So until then, stay safe.